some light disturbing.
Kiki, why you don't share?
I don't share with you.
Our program. Every day I'm sweating. Today, no sweating. We're 10 minutes late. Let me see what he's doing.
Do you know where we are? Yes, I'm talking to you, Rebecca. Do you know where we are or how far the driver needs to go get help?
The girl doesn't speak or understand English.
So, tell me, what do you think about all this?
Where have you been? And do not walk away whilst I'm still talking to you.
No!
Rebecca!
Did you hear that?
Are you trying to get me angry?
Now it's on. It's on now.
I was talking on this one. Can you give me that mute so
You want to turn it off?
Good morning.
Frozen.
No, he's not frozen. I just want to make sure that he's
Oh, okay.
on mute.
Good morning.
Did you say anything, Mike?
Came for a hotel room,
Live.
and he ended up buying me expensive jewelry. What?
For God shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace.
So, are you going to leave that man to go scot-free?
We're about to start our morning show. Myself and Kiki. My guest is Kiki. Say hello, Kiki.
Hello. Hello.
We're both wearing red this morning.
Yeah.
That means we're serious. We're ready.
We're ready. Friday. Friday red. We're just about to start.
Do you want to see from here?
Yeah, if we can. If not, then let's go. We can do it when we go on the
11
breaks.
brothers. You never told me you had 11 brothers. I'd have never slept with you if you had 11 brothers.
11 brothers.
I didn't expect me to lay all my cards on the table, do you?
Hey, Rosie,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I'll put it, okay. Can you just put this thing there, over there? I'll put it up when...
We're going on a break, yeah.
I believe you had sex in my bed.
So we're going to be quick
Yeah.
of the stories.
Are you feeling down?
We're going to stick to the time, man.
Good morning, people. We're just about to start
Get in here.
our TV show.
Was Martin check on James's sterility? No sense until proven. Don't you dare, Shirley. I was thinking about committing suicide. I got beaten for my future baskets.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
Hello and welcome to Talk Africa with me, Jones Ewa. In the studio today we have Kiki.
Hello.
Kiki, who's a radio host here at GN Radio, will be with us this morning. Later on in the show as well, we'll have another special guest who will be joining us. Good morning, Kiki.
Good morning.
Are you okay? You good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, we didn't plan this. I've got
Yeah,
red on. You've got red on.
Yeah. we're kind of like minds.
Yes, you know, we think
Great
alike.
minds think together.
Absolutely. Now, coming up later on in the show, we'll be looking at our topic of the day. Okay, today, I think this area, when we treat it, sometimes it's very difficult. Some people are very uncomfortable about this issue here. We're asking, is sex education still a taboo within African communities? Okay, that's what we're talking about today. When we talk about sex, many people tend to shy away from it. But the truth of the matter is, it needs to be discussed. We need to talk about it to educate ourselves. So that's what we'll be talking about later on in the show. As always, we will look at stories making the headlines across the continent. We'll be joined on the phone by Idris Adesina, editor of Alternative Africa. But we'll always begin the show by looking at stories making the headlines here in England. We will start with there's one story you wanted to start with quickly, which is with regards to apprentice winners firm hires strippers to police executives.
Yeah, Alan Sugar's apprentice, he, to welcome the winner, they hired this interesting roly-poly 18-stone woman, naked, with her breasts and everything out, to display, he was on the floor, he was straddling him and all of these things. Someone took a photo of it. And it's quite interesting, because did she have to be black? I don't know. I saw it and I was uncomfortable for the fact that there was a black, naked, full-breasted woman out there amongst all these white middle-class people. It irritated me a little bit. But.
Does this look like this seems, is it something that is a culture thing that's happening? Because not too long ago we had there was this, it was like a dinner where it's like the presidential club where people felt as though women were being exploited.
Yeah. This woman is definitely not being exploited,
right,
because she has her own website.
Okay.
And she's doing this. This is her job. She's for hire. She's called Gloria. She's got a website, so if you want to do like birthday parties,
she's an escort.
She's working. She's an escort.
Okay.
Yes. So she goes in and she entertains the men. But I still think these fantasies of men, which she's doing a job and she's being paid for it, and I'm sure she's quite happy. But I'm still uncomfortable with it. I don't know.
Will this change your perception about Sally Sugar or the apprentice in general?
No, it doesn't change my perception of anything. It's just men doing what men do. But I think while we're trying to educate men to kind of stop this sort of thing, I don't know how long it's going to take us, to not see women as objects, sex objects. And, so I just, look, it's fine. I'm not a prude. If she's being paid a lot of money for this, that's fine. But if it always makes you think about plantation times when, women, especially black, full-bodied women.
So you have an issue with the fact that it's a black woman.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a black woman, you wouldn't have any issue with it.
Well, if it was them amongst them, that's fine. This is a very serious thing that you don't want to say. However, I don't know. It looked seedy, even if it wasn't. Even if it wasn't somewhere in a horrible, seedy place, it looked seedy to me. She was dressed. They watched while the 18-stone fake police officer straddled his head, dressed only in PCs, as he lay on the office floor. What is that? You're supposed to be at work, or what is happening? Why is sex such an entertaining and yet horrible? I don't know. I am not a prude, people. But, however, it still bothered me seeing the photos.
Yeah.
It looked horrible.
Okay, now let's move on to the next story. I don't know which one you want to touch on. If you want to touch on the girl spending more
time
on looks from the age of 7.
That also bothered me a little bit. I think a lot of things are bothering me these days. I don't know. Is it, maybe it's old age. I'm not sure.
Well, with this this kind of stories, you hear celebrities talking about it. Some people are saying that obviously images that's portrayed in music videos, on social media, in front of magazines, these are all being airbrushed, which tends to deceive young girls who look up to these people.
It's very worrying. First of all, cosmetics are very expensive. So these little girls, 7 years old, are their parents buying them the cosmetics or they're buying it themselves? Then again, you see social media, newspapers and all of that. Before, we used to have page 3 in the Sun.
Yeah.
I don't think there's page 3 in the Sun anymore. I haven't seen it.
No.
I don't read the Sun. So, but the issue is that this is what starts the insecurity of girls, because we all can't look the same. And as we can't look the same, if you're seeing a certain type of person continually everywhere, and that is supposed to be what beauty is about, you're going to have the insecurity, you're going to be anorexic, you're going to be unsure of your own beauty, and these are the things. These are the problems that affect, and if it's starting from 7, we're in trouble.
But then you have other young girls who have the the lipsticks or the makeup that they're wearing. At 7? Yes, at 7. And some of them do, their friends will feel left out, so therefore they will complain to their parents.
Yes, but it's just not right. They're not ready yet. Look, the body hasn't formed yet. You don't know what you got. Why? All of these things, there are horrible predatory men out there who say that these children don't look like children and they do all these things. So people will find excuses to do horrible things to young children. We have to be careful to be able to separate childhood from adulthood. And we have to know that there is a process that they go through. 7 is too young. Teenage, possibly. Because then they're looking at themselves, they can see their eye, they can see their, but at 7, what are you looking at and what are you doing? I think it's a problem in the schools, education. Schools have to do something about this.
What about parents?
Parents too. I mean,
clearly they're probably not doing it whilst they're at school. They're doing it at home.
At home, yes. There is so much, and you know my thoughts on this already, and I say it all the time. There is so much lax parental guidance in this country, Britain. And the laws are so strange these days and so intrusive into people's lives that people are confused as to how to be strict or how to discipline their own children before they hit outside. And these are issues that should be addressed, especially in our African community where we are very different in the way that we bring up our children. It's fine, everyone can do what they like, but I think that my advice to parents, especially African parents, is we are Africans and you have to embrace this. We are Africans, African Caribbeans, etc. And we have to start looking at ourselves and projecting how we want the future to be. It is important that we look at our children and try and instill something in them as kind of pride. We are different. We look different. We cannot look like other people. We have to look like ourselves. And we have to appreciate ourselves. And we have to be a little bit more disciplined in our approach towards our children.
Is it not a bit difficult? Because children from the age of 7... the programs they watch on TV, they have their own little sitcoms that they watch. If you look at the characters, slim, long hair, makeup, everything done. Yeah. So, in a way, what you're watching is what you're aspiring to be.
Yeah, it's a big job. Yeah. It's either that we, as parents, have to tell our children, yes, this is what we see because the black person, there are not a lot of black people out there. There was this, I don't know if you've seen it, but one of these, I've forgotten, I saw it somewhere, and he's supposed to have said that, the film The Black Panther?
Right.
He said it was shocking that it was only, the majority of actors were black. and he had a problem with that. This is a newsreader on mainstream news. That upset me. How many films, major films, do you see where there are black people in it at all? If there's one or two, and he's either a drug addict, a prisoner, a murderer, you know,
all the negative roles.
All the negative roles. So if suddenly somebody was strong enough and bold enough to bring out a black person, a black film for black children to view, it's exciting.
Well, the narrative is changing. I don't know if you want to touch on the story front page of the Times. Thousands of prisoners could be out.
Thousands of prisoners will get out early and are going to be released early under a government drive to relieve pressure on overcrowded and drug-ridden jails. Now that's worrying. How are they going to, you know, are they rehabilitated enough to come out, or is it because of space and drugs that they're going to come out and then commit more crimes? Because they're in the prison for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about that. Very, very concerned.
I mean, a lot of people have touched on the fact that when offenders do come out, they're more likely to reoffend. Is the rehabilitation part, which is very, very crucial.
Yeah. And if you're letting them out early, the word early is a worry to me, because have they been rehabilitated enough to be able to come out into the big wide world again and do all of the things that they were doing before? And now I hear that in prison you learn more tricks, so you come out and you're more equipped for your whatever it is that you were doing before.
Okay, and finally, there's a story about a man on Facebook.
Yes, oh God, yes.
You want to touch up on?
Yes, I do.
A man who claimed he had cancer, but that wasn't the case.
A bigamist, so he had 2 wives.
Okay.
And he tried to hide his double life by claiming he had terminal cancer. And his 2 wives caught him. They contacted each other on Facebook and realized they were married to the same man because they had the same surname. So Michael Eels, 59, has been jailed for 3 months on Valentine's Day. This is just so ridiculous. He had 2 wives. I don't know how. I mean, having 1 wife is a problem for a lot of men. Because, and you know, he revealed he had the illness while he was on a family holiday. Then he meets his 2nd wife, and then you know they moved into they moved into a house that they borrowed money from Miss Howard's father to pay for the bigamous 2nd marriage. So he's borrowing money, marrying a 2nd person, and then creating a home with them. It's crazy.
All right, Kiki. We're done with the stories making the headlines here in the UK. This is Talk Africa. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll look at stories making the headlines across Africa. We'll be right back. Henrietta. Henrietta. Hi, Estelle. Yeah, remember. Estelle.
Yeah?
Yes. Should we book the cab now, yeah?
Yes. Since 10 minutes, that's exactly what I said.
Okay.
Waiting. No problem. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Okay. Estelle?
Yeah?
I'll text you the producer's number, okay? So when you get her, give her a call, because I'm on air.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Bye.
Estelle, yeah?
No. No, wait. I should return immediately. I didn't.
Good morning. If you just joined us, we're on telly. Are we on break?
Yeah.
We're on break. So I'm talking to you now because we're on break. Hello, Becky. I can see you. Can you see me? What should I be saying?
they should get involved in the conversation.
Oh yeah, Stephen, get involved in the conversation. Call in. I see my friend Evelyn is on there as well. Evelyn, call in. We're talking about whether sex education.
I've sent her your number, so when she gets here, she will call you, or if anything, she'll call you. Her name is Estelle.
Hi, Becky. Good morning. We're talking about sex education and whether we should whether it's affecting the African community. Do we need more?
Did you hear about the Ethiopian Prime Minister resigning?
Mm-hmm. No. Is it new?
Yeah.
You can talk about that. Ethiopia.
Listen to if.
Hi, winner. Hello.
The cab is 2 minutes away from her.
Okay.
We're on break. That's why I'm chatting with you guys. It's Friday morning and I'm feeling blue. And I'm wearing red and I'm feeling blue. And
yeah, it's 2 minutes away from you, yeah? Yeah, if anything, just contact the producer, okay? Yeah? Alright. Bye.
1 minute.
Okay.
Is she ready?
Yeah,
she's ready.
So she will call you.
And, well, good morning, winner. It's so early in the morning. You guys can still watch, or are you en route to work?
Morning, John.
Good morning, Julius. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
Okay, please hold on for me, okay? We're gonna go on air.
Good morning, Rosie.
Okay.
Hello, Rosie. Is that you? My Rosie? Ajwa, good morning, Ajwa. It's nice to see you this morning. I'm saying hello to everyone who keeps popping up on my screen. I'm on telly. I'm working. We're on break. We're about to go back. Are we going back?
Julius?
Good morning.
Yeah. So I'm going to add Idris to the call, yeah?
Okay.
And then when we finish talking about Ethiopia, you can hang up, okay?
Okay then.
Okay.
Why did he resign? How old was he?
Pressure.
He has high blood pressure. Or the pressure of what?
Other people.
It's really good.
Idris. Yeah, I'm merging you, okay, with Julius. Okay, Idris. Julius is on the line as well, okay? So I'm going to merge the both of you, okay?
Idris, hi. Good
so,
morning.
Julius, Idris is on the line as well, okay? But I'll come to you first, Julius, okay?
Alright.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
I should go on my phone.
Yeah, the Ethiopian Prime Minister. Hello and welcome back to Talk Africa with me, Johnson. Well, we are streaming live on Facebook. You can go onto our Facebook page, Gntv Uk, or Talk Africa. We're also live on Sky Channel 291, also on GN Radio. You can listen to GN Radio on Sky 0185 or on TuneIn. Okay, you can listen to GN Radio on there. Now let's turn our attentions to your stories making headlines across the continent. And on the phone, I have Julius Beluto, who is a broadcaster, also a political analyst and editor of Informer East Africa. Good morning, Julius.
Good morning.
Julius, Ethiopian Prime Minister resigns after mass protests. Julius.
Indeed. I think he bows down to pressure. Ethiopia has been going through a lot of political turmoil, I think, for several years. And we got that from his own resignation message where and his Prime Minister, Mariam Saleh, telling the world that he was resigning to end years of political unrest. And during that time of unrest, we've seen a lot of political activists bumped up into jail. We've seen a lot of also in the media cracked down upon. And probably then he just came to realize that it was not sustainable to keep things the way they were. We've seen lately him trying to release a few people, but thousands of them were in prison, so if you release a few of them, that doesn't really go far enough, and the people kept the momentum. The Ethiopians kept the momentum of protest. So I think it bows down to pressure, really.
Yesterday, when we had you here in the studio, you touched on the importance of the journalist who was released and how far Ethiopia have come as a country. What does this mean for Ethiopia right now, seeing as the Prime Minister has resigned?
Ethiopia has been one of the countries that in Africa has been controlled by the ruling elite at a very close way, in a very close method. Pretty much not extremely open to the rest of the world because of the idea that Ethiopia is different in Africa. Do you know it's the only country that was never colonized?
Yeah.
And also, do you know when celebrate New Year, Ethiopian New Year is different from the rest of Africa?
Yes.
And that being a very unique country, it's been controlled in a very unique manner. And therefore, not a lot of what was going on was coming out of Ethiopia because media was not able to report as any other country, open country such. Anything happening just in the rest of the world knows. Ethiopia was that kind of a country. And so when you see this happening, it just tells us that the system to control is losing grip. I don't know whether we blame that on the wave going through Africa. The wave of change seems to be unstoppable, and we find people who would not utter the word resign, like our former friend Robert Mugabe. We went them saying the word, although they don't agree with it 100%. So it's interesting times for Africa, I have to say. We're seeing a lot changing. And to see Prime Minister Mariam saying that he wants to give the country a chance for reform, I mean, for me, that's really the best thing to do. Importance of Ethiopia as well to the West has been key in fighting terror. We've seen the U.S. Working with them to restore peace in Somalia. So it's an important country to the West. Although sometimes it gets caught up in different ways. We are seeing a country that even the rest of the world cannot afford to ignore. Before they used to ignore it because at the end of the day, most of the time, the Western countries, they work with African countries to serve their own interest.
Okay, let me get Idris' thoughts on this. We also have Idris Adeshina, editor of Alternative Africa, on air. Idris, good morning to you. You've heard what Julius had to say. Again, Ethiopia moving in the right direction, Idris.
Yes, that's the narrative I want us to take to attach to it. Yes, the man has been very repressive. The country is under close control by the elite, just that any other African country is controlled by elite. And when there's a fallout, they come to incite the general public against themselves.
Yeah.
And the country look as if it's in turmoil. But for now, it's beautiful. We have it in Zimbabwe. We have it in South Africa. Just a day after the man in South Africa was resigned, the other one in Ethiopia. Let's just believe that, like the 2015 or 2011 revolution is spreading across Africa. Let's hope and believe this is the beginning of the best thing to happen. Hey, South African president has resigned. Whether he was forced out or not, he has resigned. Mugabe left his own resignation letter. This is a man that felt the pressure and resigned. Let's hope it becomes a big thing in Africa. That when the leadership begins to consider resignation of office, that it doesn't the lives of Africans are more precious than theirs. So let us live for peace to reign.
Idris, there's in his statement. Well, let me go back to Jacob Zuma, where Jacob Zuma said people are not going to lose their lives because of him. The same thing here with regards to Ethiopia. The Prime Minister has also said that he wants there to be a reform.
Yes. So let's take it two ways. That they are beginning to learn lesson that the power belongs to people. Secondly, the second lesson is that the African society itself, very docile before, has suddenly woken up that the power belongs to us. We can put pressure on these people, and they are nobody without us. That's what I want to. That's where I want to see this, and I hope that it doesn't stop there. That it spreads like wildfire to other African countries.
Okay. We will say goodbye to Julius. Idris will stay with us. Thank you for talking to us this morning, Julius. Let's move on to our next story. And Kiki, I'll come to you. This is with regards to South Africa. They have a new president. Cyril Ramaphosa has taken over as president of South Africa immediately, and he's saying he's vowing to fight against corruption.
It's very interesting that South Africans have managed to take the ex-president out, and they now have Ramaphosa. But he's also from the ANC.
Yeah.
And is there going to be any difference?
We talked about this yesterday. A bit like Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Mugabe left, Emerson Mnangagwa came in, coming from the same party, same groups. They've been friends, and but everybody comes in with a different idea.
Well, let us hope. With the situation at the moment, the whole world is watching South Africa. The interest that the world has in South Africa is slightly different from the interest it has in other African countries, because a lot of the Western world feel like they're close relations with South Africa. They've been very stressed out with all the things that have happened. Everybody gave a chance to Nelson Mandela. He was a man, a hero, and all those things. And therefore, he was supposed to build a new South Africa. South Africa is a wonderful place, and it's got its own space in the world stage. So now that this guy's gone off and we've got Ramaphosa on, I hope that he brings new views, new ideas, and keeps South Africa there, up where it's supposed to be. Otherwise, we're going to have a big horror. I just pray that it's not like Zimbabwe, where, it just entered into the pits and, But he's a very quiet man, as described, and former anti-apartheid activist. We hope that he knows what he's doing.
Okay, let me bring Idris in. Idris, quickly, we can talk about the two, really, South Africa and Zimbabwe. You did mention yesterday, whilst you were on here, Idris, is the fact that the former president was alleged to be involved in some form of corruption. You also said the now president, Ramaphosa, who was his deputy, if he was aware of this, how come he didn't step up? The same thing with former president of Zimbabwe, Mugabe, and his deputy or his vice president. Yet, when the vice presidents or the deputy come up and power has been handed to them, the first thing they do is go against what the former leaders were or stood for.
Yeah, we saw it in South Africa just a few hours after the man was sworn in yesterday. The son said, the man said, South African son has been declared wanted, been hunted by the police now for allegation of corruption. I don't believe that is just immediate like that. Probably it's been in the process all along. Don't forget that the Gupta family were arrested and placed under detention even before the South African president resigned. But the way I want you to see this is because power in Africa is almost absolute. When the president is in power, don't forget that they have the power with them, they have the immunity, nobody can prosecute them, or they could prosecute, nobody can jail them. So all those things, but we've seen this man step out of the shadow of South African President Jacob Zuma long before he took over. Immediately he became the leader of the ANC. We saw changes in South Africa immediately. The pressure on Zuma increased. Seriously, we saw that too in Zimbabwe. But what I want us to believe is that being deputy is different from being the president or being the leader now. They need to please the public who wanted them, because the problem in South Africa has been the allegation of corruption against Zuma for a very long time. So it was because of this same allegation that he was fired by the former president, Thabo Mbeki, before he found his way into the party hierarchy and recalled Mbeki. So it's not just new in South Africa about Zuma. It's been something that has dogged him all through his political life. But the beautiful thing is that we have somebody in place now who had always vowed to fight corruption. But my concern is that I hope some of their own past too will not catch up with them when they're in government now. Because we know that interest groups will always want to try and hijack government. You can't do everything alone. You always need to rely on systems of government to operate. What I believe this man can do in South Africa is to reform the system and not the people. People are irreformable, they are irredeemable. Whatever you look about people, they always find a way to circumvent the law. But when you have a strong system, the system can whip people into shape. And that is what we don't find. We reform people, we make promises. Let's reform the system that will live beyond us when we leave offices. And that is what the African society needs now.
Okay, Idris, stay on the line. We will be back. We'll talk more of some stories trending across the continent. We're taking another quick break. When we'll come back, we will continue with our discussion. Just to let you know, we are streaming live on Facebook, Gntv UK. You can also watch us live on Gntv Sky Channel 291. You can listen to us on DAB GN Radio or tune in GN Radio. We'll be back after this commercial.
I ask you to tell KIKI.
To tell me what?
Idris.
You're concerned about polygamy. Maybe not in this UK now. They ban drug, they ban everything. They say, okay, now let's incorporate drug into our system too, so we can control it. Maybe they should incorporate polygamy too, so that it can be controlled.
Can't hear you.
Incorporate polygamy.
My position is that they should declare polygamy legal.
No way.
Idris, you know we'll be talking about this next week, right?
Polygamy.
Yeah. Polygamy, yeah.
They've done everything, it's not working. Let's declare it legal now.
Idris. Idris, we're trying to eradicate polygamy.
I swear that I couldn't understand exactly.
No, I couldn't hear you. When you were talking, I couldn't hear you. Because you were talking too fast.
Idris, how many wives have you got?
The South African new president.
Maybe because I'm afraid of law, I have one.
During the time of Thabo Mbeki.
One is enough for you, Idris. One wife is enough.
Maybe because I'm afraid of law.
Yeah, you can't have two wives. You will go to prison if you have two wives. And it is deception.
Oh, yeah.
It's very
So why didn't you come to the studio today?
How are we supposed to?
I didn't think we had that conversation yesterday. We just dispatched without telling each other what to do. So when I saw his message yesterday, I thought it was for me to be on the phone.
Oh, okay. So
we didn't. I think he forgot to tell me I should be in the studio.
He forgot to tell you.
Yeah, we had discussion with. That's the way I saw it. He forgot to tell me, "Are you coming to the studio?" Because we were talking on different level yesterday. We just dispatched like that.
That's not true. I am here.
Idris.
I should be. I'm not lying against you. You are there. No.
All right. See you soon, Idris.
Idris is a naughty boy.
Idris, stay on the line, yeah?
Okay.
Friday morning. Good morning, Mina. Good morning, Florence. Good morning, everybody. It's interesting that you're watching us. We're on telly. And good morning, Uncle.
We did the FIFA story.
Yep.
So I'll come to you first.
I don't know much.
No. You just read what the story is about.
I'm going to talk about football in a minute.
Welcome back to Talk Africa with me, John Sewa. In the studio we have Kiki, who's a radio host here on GN Radio. She has her own show, the Kiki Chat Show, which goes on every Wednesday at 9 p.m., isn't it, Kiki?
Yeah.
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
That's a nice free promo for you. 9 p.m. Make sure you tune in to Kiki's Chat Show. She has some very interesting topics that she discusses on her program.
Yeah.
But now you're tuning in to Talk Africa. We're live on Sky Channel 291. We're also streaming live on Facebook, okay? Now, later on in the show, on our topic of the day, all right? This is something that we really, really need to touch on, and I would like for a lot of people to get involved with this topic. We're asking, is sex education still a taboo within the African community, okay? I'd like to hear a lot of people's thoughts on that. You can go onto our Facebook page, or you can call into the studio when we get to our main topic of the day. But right now, we're looking at topics trending across the continent. And then I'll come to you, Kiki. It's a story of, now FIFA has named the 4-man investigation unit that will oversee the match fixing that went on with regards to Sierra Leone.
Yeah. I was surprised and shocked. But it seems like since 2014, 11 officials and 4 players have been suspended by Sierra Leone's FA, that's Football Association, pending investigation, with all having denied wrongdoing. The 4-man FIFA unit will be chaired by Jean-Samuel Luba, a lawyer. Now, that is shocking. Why match fixing in what way? So is it that they asked them to...
well, we will find out what actually transpired when the committee finally begin their work. And I know this is an area that Idris has really, really followed. Idris, this is not surprising. This is something that a lot of people were anticipating was going to happen.
Better it is for not only Sierra Leone football, but the entire African continent, because this has been a running story since 2014. And don't forget that it was triggered by the FA itself.
Yeah.
That a good number of them, about 9 or 19 of them were suspended, including 2 FA officials.
Yeah.
Were suspended on allegation of this, and they rejected it, and so many things were going on. Now it's been too late. Don't forget, it's also part of the crisis that threatened to unseat the Sierra Leone FA chairman a very long time. So the better it is now, the earlier they put this together. My only worry is that it's been too late for FIFA to put the committee in place to investigate it thoroughly. Look, it is match fixing, including the World Cup. One of it was also alleged to one of the matches they played in the World Cup was alleged to also be infiltrated by these criminals in football. But it's too late. But it's now that it's been put in place, let them accelerate again. Let not good for African football.
Now, Idris, you touched on the fact that this is long overdue, and well, myself and yourself, the both of us had the opportunity to meet the president of Sierra Leone Football Association, Aisha Johansson, and herself in her capacity as the FA president, she hasn't had it easy, has she?
It's not. You know, she's a very tough one herself. One, you know, in Africa, it's always a taboo for men to be led by a woman. So,
unfortunately,
yes, that's the taboo. We pay up to look at it and look, how can a man subject themselves to the authority of a woman? And that's the way we were brought up in that country. But things are changing. She's a tough woman, and don't also forget that when you also get the position of authority, there is no way. I made a joke yesterday that you cannot get to the river without putting your leg in the water. It's not possible. It's not possible. So she also had her own case. You see, when you force your way into leadership like that, you also have to make a team to be able to fight those who are fighting you. It's political, but that is part of the game of power. What I'm more interested in that the allegation of corruption should be thoroughly investigated, particularly when it has to do with the FIFA Grade A matches, of World Cup matches. That's very, very damning on African football. So now they've taken their time to set up a committee now. Let the committee go into operation immediately. Let's see who are guilty, and if they are not guilty, let's give Citadel a certificate of clean health. Let's know that, because just a few days ago we had match fixing allegation in one of the other sports too that is proven to be wrong. They said they've got it to it and there's nothing to discover there. So if that is the case of Sierra Leone, yes, because Sierra Leone is in the world media now for this match fixing and for this committee. So let the committee quickly conclude the job and let's see whether some of these officials are guilty or there is no case there to be answered.
Okay, Idris. Now, another story. I didn't like this headline because I think it was more or less condemning the man. Egyptian authorities detained former Islamist presidential candidates. Now, of course, elections are just around the corner for Egypt.
What don't you like there? That has been the narrative in Egypt for about last 3 years now. Yes, we've seen it now. Look. If you look at the story.
The reason, Idris, let me just interject. The reason why I don't like the headline is because the current government know the power that he holds as an opposition, and he used to be part of a group that now he's no more part of, or he's not affiliated with. But the headlines says otherwise, and of course the people that do follow him have all been arrested and detained. Some of them.
Yeah, you know when you are linked with Boko Haram in Nigeria, it's a problem. When you are linked with herdsmen in Africa, it's a problem. When you are linked with a brotherhood in Africa, in Egypt, you know what it means to government, not the people. No, you have to separate government from the people now. The problem of brotherhood in Egypt has been there for a long time, and it's not new. So we know the way they were unceremoniously removed from power, and the leaders will have a last sentence or death sentence hang on him. That is still a running story there. But my worry is that Egypt is gradually becoming a dictatorial government. The election scenario now is putting too many opposition in jail. Everybody now has to have one crime or the other to get them to put him in jail. I mean, they said this man will have contact. Is that enough? Is contact enough to put somebody in jail, to put somebody in detention? It's all about election. And you and I know that. I'm worried that the will of the people in Egypt, if the government is so good, if the government is in control, I don't think every little thing when election is coming, it should be told. The story about Egypt for the last 1 year that the set of election timetable is doing the same thing. Any dissenting voice must be linked with brotherhood or linked with Islam. I mean, you saw that last 1 week now, the headline is the one that means that Egypt has become an offensive against Islamists. But are we beginning to see that just a small screen, a cover-up, to be able to do some other things? I'm worried that Egypt is becoming a dictatorial government.
Let me get Kiki's thoughts on that. Idris is saying, Kiki, that he's worried that Egypt is becoming a country where if you're seen to be within the opposition, then they're coming for you.
Yeah, but that is so unfair. However, Egypt has said they were democratic. However, every time and every new election time, they are moving towards a kind of an army state. How can hundreds of policemen arrest one man? And right now, I was surprised to read it and they have also arrested all of his men. You know, the Egypt Strong Party or whatever they call themselves. They have arrested all of the men surrounding him. That is so unfair. Why have they arrested him? Has he done something? Has he committed an offense? Or is it because he's standing against the present president? And also the president himself, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, or what it is called, is standing against a little-known politician because he knows he will win. Nobody knows the other guy.
Well, the reason why he's being arrested is he is known to have links with the Brotherhood, which back in 2013 Egypt banned the Brotherhood.
But he separated himself from the Brotherhood, and he set up his new party, which is the Egypt Strong Party, or something he calls them. So why now? Why is he arresting him now? Is it because he was in the party?
Well, the person which we're talking about here, his name is Abu Futwa, which a lot of people say that his party is still linked to the Brotherhood.
Well, so when is he going to go to court? I mean, is something going to happen? Because is all of this going to happen by the time he goes to court? They've already had the elections and he's wiped him out. Is that the trick? I mean, do people do things, especially in the world stage where everyone is watching, and you can act with such impunity? I don't understand it. I do not understand.
Okay, we're running out of time, so we'll definitely keep you posted on that story, especially with elections just around the corner for Egypt. Let's move on to the next story, and Kiki, I'll come to you. It's been reported that many young African women with HIV are unaware they are infected. This is worrying.
How did the people know that this amount of women have HIV? That's what I was worried about as I read it. 46.3% of these women who are infected and are not aware that they have AIDS, HIV. That is very serious. And how did they know?
The studies came from Center for Diseases Control and Prevention.
But my question is, so the woman goes to hospital. She has an HIV test. You know that she's got it, but you haven't told her. I don't understand how people know that people have it, and yet they don't know. They themselves, the patients, the victims, don't know that they have it. That is the first thing. How do people know that these women have the HIV infection?
Well, we will get to that, but let me get, it's status of HIV pandemic control among adolescent girls and young women aged between 15 to 24 years. 7 African countries through 2015 to 2017. So they did this study between 2015 to 2017, and they picked 7 countries. So that's how they were able to figure out tested people who were not aware they were carriers or infected.
Yeah, but did they then know after they were infected, or they just did the test and walked away with the knowledge? You see, I'm very concerned about this HIV thing, and how are they testing it? We have to be careful and who are these people anyway? Who are these people who are conducting the test? we really need to. This is the whole thing of the Africa situation where Lesotho, Malawi,
Tanzania, Kenya,
Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, of all places. What's happening? We should take control of our own situations. If someone comes into hospital, they're not well, and you do a test and they find out that they have HIV, do they tell them? Do they not tell them? Do they just write it in a book and say, we're doing a survey and this X amount of people have this illness and therefore it's a concern? However, they don't know that they have it. Are you trying to cure them? Do you just give them paracetamol? Do they go home and then get married and infect whoever they marry or have a relationship? What is happening?
Okay, let me bring Idris into this. Idris, as Kiki is saying, is it the same narrative that is being depicted as, the continent having a lot of people suffering with HIV? Or is it a case where we know it exists across the continent, but people are not getting the right treatment, or people are not going forward to get tested?
It's a complicated case. One, the first thing I want to say is that we've made progress on HIV in Africa to the point where we thought it was almost going to wipe the continent away in just few hours.
Yeah,
we made giant strides in AIDS pandemic in Africa. I remember we used to get involved as a journalist in so many areas of it. We've made progress. Yes, where we are now is not different from other parts of the world. It may be more for us because of our enlightenment, because of the way we carry out enlightenment in Africa. Yes, people are not getting tested, and I know you are also an ambassador of them. You raise fingers sometimes. Am I wrong?
Yes, Idris. I was involved of the HIV, the 2017 campaign to raise awareness for people to get tested.
But what we need to do more in Africa is the campaign. Yeah, you are right. People are not coming forward to be tested because of the apprehension that once you discover you are. That is the biggest problem in Africa. In this part of the world too, they've not given us statistics of. I've not seen anything about HIV campaign in the media here too. But it's the same thing in Africa. It's the same thing here. But we need to invest more in enlightenment.
All right, Kiki wants to come in.
Yeah, I wanted to say to Idris that one of the things is that when we make a big noise about something for a long time, for a period of time, and then we think, okay, so people are aware now, and then we move on to something else, which is human nature. We keep continually moving on to something else. However, HIV is something which we really need to look at. At the moment, there are medicines where they say if you have HIV, you can take, and it just prolongs your life. You don't actually get full-blown AIDS. This is what we've been told. And so, once you have that tablet, you take it daily for the rest of your life, and you can live till the age of 83 or something.
Is that not the problem here, Idris? The lack of understanding, the education?
Yes, it also depends on the kind of campaign we run. Most of the campaign we run in Africa is about people dying, people going show HIV patients or somebody who is infected with HIV. We show almost something like a skeleton. That is what we show in Africa. Maybe we need to move away from that type of campaign now to continue to show people who are fully blown and are living a good life.
What do you mean fully blown? I don't understand.
The difference between when you are infected with HIV virus and when you move from that virus level to a full-blown HIV/AIDS.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That is, maybe we should begin to show people now who are fully blown with HIV/AIDS and they live their life. I was a journalist in Nigeria for several years, and we interact with these people for so long. So it is now time to move away from that campaign. When people begin to see that even if you are infected with HIV/AIDS, you can still live a normal life. But again, how accessible are we in Africa to antiretroviral drugs? That's another thing there. We have seen the study case in a case study in South Africa. We've seen a case study in Ghana and some other African countries too. But the campaign should move away from depicting HIV patients as somebody who's about to die to somebody who is going about his normal job, who has his family at that things are working, when we begin to move to that positive campaign about it, maybe people will begin to come up now. Because what we want here is a voluntary testing to determine the HIV status of everybody. When we begin to put a positive outlook on it, that look, it doesn't mean your life is ended. Doesn't mean you are going to die. You can live a complete good life. Everybody has one ailment or the other. People have malaria, people have chronic asthma, people have so many things, and they still live their life. So we should begin to depict HIV infection as that as well, just like malaria. That's just an ailment that when you come out on time, you can, even if it's not treatable, you can manage this thing and live a good life.
Okay, let me get Kiki's submission on this.
I agree with Idris to the point where we say not necessarily malaria, but the chronic illnesses that you're talking about. Because as for malaria, the mosquitoes will still bite you and you will still get another infection. However, with the chronic asthmas, heart disease, all these things, and in fact, there was a time in the past when if someone had cancer, say, you were afraid to go near them because you could catch it. Now we know that you can't catch cancer in the air, you know, that sort of thing, and people have cancer and we sit with them, we hug them, etc. So here we have HIV, which, I mean, the whole issue is patchy on how with this paper that they've written, they're saying that the young girls catch it, they're infected 5 to 7 years earlier than their male peers. Yeah, which is a little bit worrying. Where did they get it from? How did they get it? You know, and so all of this has to go. And it's true. Here in the Western world, people have HIV and they go to hospital and they get their medicines and they're getting on with life normal. Therefore, and you know, women even have babies with HIV, which here in the Western world. So I think we need to address it. But my question then is, it has to be seen to be believed that you can have HIV and lead a normal life. You have to give the people the medicines. But where are the medicines?
It's down to education. I think you and Idris both have touched on that. Which leads us to our main topic of the day. If you just joined us later on in the show, what we're going to be talking about. I've said it a lot. This issue of sex education, we're asking, is it still a taboo within the African community? When it comes to the issue of sex education, a lot of people tend to shy away from that, but this is something that we must address as a people, as a nation, if we're going to improve. And also for the next generation to understand when it comes to talking about, you know, sex education. Because whether you like it or not, the person that you think, your daughter, your son, or your niece, your nephew, that you know, you think they're holier than thou, they're probably doing something that you're not aware of. It's better to educate them than to get a little surprise that you were not expecting. This is Talk Africa with me, John Siwa. We're going on a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at our main topic of the day. We'll be right back.
Sex education. If I tell you my deepest thoughts on
it. Not now, when we come back.
So no tea for me. I'm just going to get a pen and I'll be back.
Can I have a pen?
Nice to meet you.
Ça va?
Somebody needs it. That's my test.
Ça va?
Oh, you speak French? Oh my God.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment tu vas?
Non. Oui.
No.
Je m'appelle.
It's been a very long time. Wow.
A very, very long time.
It's a nice studio. I like it.
You like it?
That your driver took me around. I said, listen, I'm from Brixton. Can you take me? Because sorry, darling, no fighting.
How goes it?
Hello. You don't remember me, no? You would remember me, would you? You're from the other side. Yeah, I remember you very well. No problem.
Hey, Kira.
I think you could see yourself.
What's his surname?
Oh, you.
or you?
Yeah. Oh, you said it very well. English, but you're right.
You. And what should I introduce you as?
Name anything you'd like.
Okay, social commentator.
It's Estelle, if it's Stella, if it's Star, whatever. It's my favorite. Star, oh wow.
This is, what's your name?
Estelle.
This is Estelle. She's from, I don't know.
Ivory Coast.
Are you from Ivory Coast? Yeah. Oh, is that why you were speaking the French?
Yeah.
That's not fair then. Because if you were from...
Do you want to comment on
an English-speaking country?
Oh, I see. So it's cheating. It's not,
yeah.
I'm cheating basically.
Basically.
It's not my fault.
She speaks French, by the way.
Alright, when we come... Okay, should I call you back then? Because we're going to play the interview I did with the guy. So I'll call you back.
Yeah.
That's 10 minutes.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, Estelle.
Well, you can... I'll give you a signal if it's going to cut.
It says good morning.
Sure. Kiki, please can I have you back on your position, please?
I like your thing.
Oh, thank you.
Estelle, are you sharing it? You should share it, man.
Which one?
On social media, this show.
My phone.
Where's your phone? Yeah, you can get your phone.
Yeah. I can get connected on the internet.
Yeah, we have free Wi-Fi. Yes. Hey, this is not Congo.
So will you put her Wi-Fi on for her?
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a comment. It's a good morning. Says yes, it's a taboo because we feel very shy about it, and most people feel bad if they see anyone talking about it. We still have a long way to go, but thanks to technology, anyway, that's a fact. Yeah. I know that my issue is in my country. I come from Ghana, by the way, so you're my cousin.
Of course.
Of course. You're in fact my niece or something.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, something
we're all one people before.
Yeah.
So they want you to move slightly to your right.
Slightly?
Yeah, perfect.
I want you to be closer to your auntie.
I would love to be by the camera.
So it's
I've told everybody. I've told everyone. But I don't know what TV channel is going to be on, so I forgot to ask you that. Everyone's going to tune in, and if it's on YouTube, they're going to watch it, and this is the kind of effect I have on these people.
It's on television as well, you know
what
that.
Channel? That's what
291. 291 Sky. So you just text
I'll
them
do it
all.
for you, don't worry. If it doesn't go, I'll do it for you.
We're back. We're back.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Africa. Talk Africa is the program that brings you closer to home by discussing all issues pertaining to Africa. If you just joined us, we're going to touch on our main topic of the day. But before we do that, okay, I promise you we will get to that subject. I know that a lot of people have been sending in messages and I will read them out. Now, during the course of the week, I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Akwesi Ewua Abebio, who is the current director of diaspora of the president of Ghana. Okay, he was in the country. We had an opportunity to talk to him. Let's take a quick listen to what he had to say. And when we come back, we will continue with our main discussion here in the studio.
From the office of the president. This is a role that most of us became familiar with after the new government came in. What does this role actually entail?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to say something about the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President. As you correctly said, this role has only recently been established by the new government. Since last February, that was part of the manifesto that we were going to, project the image of the diaspora and make it more central to government. And so we decided to, move the activities or the operations of the Diaspora Affairs Office. We used to be under the Foreign Affairs Ministry to the Office of the President, and luckily I found myself, spearheading the policy and formulation of ideas to utilize
Can I go on and
as much as possible in the
national socio-economic.
So it's on Sky, channel 291. Also on Facebook, Gntv.
We work alongside all the other government agencies. We work
if it doesn't let me finger, I'll just send it to my WhatsApp.
Okay.
Because via their establishments, via their embassies, via their high commissions.
You want the Congolese
to advance.
Hey. Congolese, right? Ivorian.
I'm Ivorian, but
well, for instance, there's engagement policy, which was begun by the previous government.
All of us are there.
This is something that is at the draft state as it is, but we are working on it. We are trying to bring it to completion. It's a team that work on it that we need to bring back together to do the consultation exercise, to review it, and to see how we can use as a basis
I think I mentioned one of the events that hosted, right? The Miss Pageant thing.
When
various government agencies to cooperate with the...
None this year?
Nah.
You know that, especially Congo, they do it all the time.
Congo does it.
You'll make something now that I'm beginning to remember your pageant show.
You did a pageant show?
Miss West Africa 2012.
Wow. This girl. No wonder you are my
You don't understand trees.
It's full of party supporters. So
because
how would you go about?
I call them my Ghanaian family. That's whom I kind of. My parents looked after me. So 2010 to
I think we have already put in measures which is notified in, for instance, the formation of the coming home event team that was formed in the UK. Which was made up of all the other political parties, including the NDC, the NPP, and the Democratic section of the society. So that in itself is the way forward. As far as we know, that is how we can embrace the full spectrum of the diaspora community to be mobilized for national development. So it is not going to be a party lines, even though, of course, some of us were protesting the party before we came to power, and that's not me. It's just like being the minister of state.
Is it on here?
Being an umbrella for the country, you don't just sit there and tell your people that I'm only looking after the section of people. We are mobilizing people from the diaspora. The various talented people of all kind of, persuasions that we need to be mobilized. That's exactly what
Sorry, don't worry.
Last year.
Let me just call my.
It didn't receive a positive feedback.
291. Don't worry, let me call them. 291 right now.
For a few days.
Before you come back.
But are you on Facebook?
Yeah, I am, but it's just not connecting because when I leave my house for some reason.
I think
you have to tell me your name so I put you on my Facebook page.
Okay, the Facebook name is Star
feedback. The incidents of that reaction to them, what the minister said was taken all out of context, and again that does not summarize the whole outcome of that the engagement was. I think it's typical that something would be taken out of the whole lot of events to say this is not what it was all about. No, it wasn't. And then I think having said that, again, there's still that official report that I'm waiting to come onto my desk. I know there's the roadshow that took place. This roadshow in the UK, for instance, that has come back with a very good report. And all the signs are good that
we streaming live on
positive. That's
it's okay.
I would say that's something very positive, and we are hoping to build on that.
So you wanted to see your interview with the guy? I saw it. No, I didn't. On Facebook.
It's on Facebook. It's going to be 400 years of slavery. So there's a lot of interest that is being expressed by the African American.
I think you would play with me after.
Diaspora.
I can probably connect to my phone too.
Okay, if you go downstairs, put the channel 291 on Sky. I'm going on to live, literally. Isn't it live, right?
What do you think is the missing link
right now.
between Ghanaians and diaspora and Ghanaians?
Yeah, tell mom, tell
I think the missing link there is basically the opportunities that they are not so well aware of. And then even when they get to know the opportunities, the fact that very often when people try to realize their objectives, whatever their aims are, whatever they try to engage with Ghana, the problems, the bottlenecks that they find in their way, which is essentially why there are offices there to facilitate the dealings that individuals will have with various government organizations to realize their objectives. It could be as simple as trying to register a business.
We're back.
Well, that was an interview I did with Mr. Kwesi Ewabebio, who is the Director of Diaspora from the President's Office, the President of Ghana. You can catch this interview. I'll give you the date and time probably at the end of the show. Now, joining us in the studio, we have Estelle Oyuru, who's a social commentator. Good morning to you, Estelle.
Good morning, James.
And it's the first time we've seen each other probably since God knows when. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
How you been?
I'm fine.
Ça va?
Oui, ça va très bien.
Okay. Can you match that, Kiki?
No.
Okay, all right.
I do understand Sabah and the Trebians and all that, but yeah.
Okay, on that note, we'll move on to our main topic of the day. As I've been saying, when it comes to this issue right here, within the African setting, we do tend to find it very difficult to talk about this subject, but on the other hand, it's very, very important and it's very crucial. So the team here at Talk Africa today, we're going to talk about this. We're asking, is sex education still a taboo within the African community? You can call into the studio 02037358820 or 0203-286-0185. The numbers will be put on the screen for you. So if you want to call in, you can do so. Or you can leave your comments on our Facebook page, Gntv UK or Talk Africa. I will read your messages out. Let me start with you because you just came in right now. Is sex education still a taboo within the African community?
I would say yes and no. The reason why I say yes and no is because it depends on, you can't stereotype every African household and assume that they're all find it taboo to talk about sex within the household. But if we're talking about Western, the Western world, any family that have come from Africa to this Western world, what they tend to do, first of all, in our African household, we all know there's moral respect. And to talk to your child about sex, if you don't teach your children at home, for some families, school will teach them, And most of the time, depending on culture and depending on religion, some families prefer not to talk about sex either because they're shy or because they feel as if the child will probably be led to do it. And they also are afraid that the friends will influence their children, whereas some African families do tend to sit down their children, talk about it, to be open with the kids.
Did your parents talk to you about it personally?
Hell no. No way. It was a taboo in our house.
Okay.
And imagine the 6 girls in the house. So who'd you start with and who'd you leave out? And plus different ages. I believe with my parents actually, what it was, I wouldn't say ignorance actually, but it's just they just teach you the way they've been brought up. So their parents didn't teach them, their parents' parents didn't teach them, therefore they don't teach us. And I think that's where they get it from.
Kiki.
I have a totally different take on that. On not everything you said. I agree with most of what you said, but this thing of parents didn't teach and all of that. I am from a particular tribe in Ghana where sex is not a taboo at all. And in fact, the whole of Ghana view my tribe as very open sexual,
Do you mind letting us know the tribe?
Yeah, but it's the Krobo tribe.
Krobo.
And we view the woman is a very important person, a woman. The woman is life. And therefore, there are many ways that we approach it, and it's all through your growing up into puberty, into womanhood, having children. It's discussed down the ages. I don't even live there most of the time. However, I am very in touch and in tune, and my brain is wired in that way. Sex education is very important. It's vital, because this is where. And I'm stopping right there to go to the main issue here. When you talk about sex education, we really should talk about sex in such a way, the issue of reproduction, the issue of how it will affect you at certain stages in your life, and therefore what you can look forward to and how you can, your body changes, etc. That is one important aspect of sex education. The act of having sex is not the issue at
that's
all.
not the issue. Yeah.
Then again,
but then within the African setting, that is the focal point.
Exactly.
Yes, but the problem with us, I am feeling, from where I'm standing, is religion.
But that's exactly what I said. But the thing is, you see, Francophone Africa and Anglophone, we've got English African countries. The difference, that's the difference of us. Now, Francophone, and I've asked this before I even came today, I've made sure I asked different Francophone speaking countries within Africa, Senegalese, Mali, Congo, Ivory Coast, name it. Nobody has their parents sit them down. Let's say, for example, the age of 12 and puberty hits in. It's like I said, they only give what they've known. So whatever they've been taught from young is what they will give you. So my parents, for example, no one sat them down to talk about sex education. Now, in this new generation that we're living in, we ourselves will approach our parents. It's like opposite. We will now talk to our parents when it comes to like questions. If you want, they'll answer you. If you want, they won't answer you. Oh, go away. Oh, no. But coming into religion, that's a big issue.
I think it's religion that has actually created this whole the Francophone and the Anglophone, whatever. It's religion, and these people have come in because I think Africa, we were much more freer with our bodies and our view towards life, And I don't want to give this example, but if you watch an animal, any animal that God created, they, the whole, it's not the freedom of, but the whole process, they understand the process and they understand. Now, we have known instinctively within us how you grow to a certain stage, you get into puberty, you have your children, how to look after them and all of that is handed down. However, it's like it is not handed down anymore. People are they don't know what to do, and you are now referring to television or other people are coming in. Religion has come and wrecked our whole balance and the natural order.
I wouldn't say religion 100%.
I think it's religion 100%.
You see, when you spoke about your culture, where you've come from, and that's just how you guys are, and you guys are open and whatnot. It's not everybody views it like that. Not every African. Forget about every African. Like I said, we can't stereotype. But I can give an example from where we come from. If I was to talk about tribes, we're BT in the Western, and these people, they do not tend to think exactly what you said is true. It's not the sexual act that's the issue. It's the reproduction, talking to your kids. They still don't find anything appropriate to talk about that with their children. So that's why I said to you is half and half. Half taboo, half not taboo. Exactly from like when you come from, it's not a taboo. For us, it is. A parent to sit the child down and talk about sex. Oh my God! It's first of all you're not grown enough yet. Why should? Because it's like who gives you the command to sit your child down and say, listen, when you're going to grow up a certain age, you're going to feel like this, you're going to feel like that. No, it's just a no because it's a mental thing as well. Having my dad, for example, with all our 6 daughters, he doesn't want to imagine any of his children in any
Sometimes we've a lot of us tend to criticize the way the English people talk about it. And for instance, you see that whole stereotype when a young girl falls pregnant, and we tend to say because they're open to this. However, we see it from the other way. We think talking about it encourages young people to commit such acts.
I think it's wrong.
Well, what you just said is wrong. I mean, it's true. No, it is. I agree with you.
So how do we break that then?
We have to
that's what I say. For example, that's why I say we have to now approach our parents instead of them coming to us because they will never.
So let me ask you, Kiki, if your young child, your young son comes to you to want to talk to you about sex, how would you approach him or her? Because I think that's the most difficult part that our parents or within the African settings find to deal with. Because already you're seen as the respectable person, woman, mom, dad, and you have a relationship with your children, but not to that level.
No. I'll give you a very easy fact. As I was growing up, one day my mother picked up a condom And she said, she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to my brothers. But she asked them, do you know what this is? So they're looking at her, they didn't say anything. So she said, this is a condom. Now, this condom is going to guard you from troubles, pregnancy, sexual related diseases, and the dreaded HIV. Every human being, and this was at the dinner table. She said, every woman wants to grow old and die and leave her children healthy. Yes, and that is the order of life. So this condom is what is going to help you when you meet a girl, and so then she brought it out of the pack. She gave everybody one. I have 3 brothers, different ages. It was stunning. Now, my mother and I, we do talk about different things. Do you understand?
Yeah.
We talk about the whole sexual education issues.
Yeah.
We talk about it in a different way. So I was very surprised at the openness of how she suddenly brought it out and gave it to them. My father also would say little things, but all of this is in open discussion in the house. It is not a secret. It is not anything to create some shyness or, But always, the one thing they always said was, this is in our house. This is how we think. This is not how other people think. So be very careful in this discussion. In my country, moving away from my household, in my country, people do not talk about sex. They don't. Sex is not discussed, it's not talked about. The whole sexual education from whichever spectrum, it is not openly discussed. It is discussed in maybe people's homes, but and it is the good Christian person does not discuss sex of any. They do not discuss body. They do not talk about anything that would embarrass the other person. It is ungodly. It is unchristian.
But do you think religious leaders can help mosques, churches, whatever religion you belong to?
As a Christian, they always teach about no fornication. Marriage is the only time you're supposed to, commit a sexual act. Therefore, in terms of that sense, unless they themselves are very open, like you said, I could even say, I wouldn't say it's a taboo in church as such, because again, you can't put everybody in the same pot. The church that I go to, very open, very, very open. Of course,
is it here or in?
As well, in this country. I don't know about African because I've not been to any church in Africa yet, but yeah. And I wanted to ask you, Auntie, for example, see your generation when you were young, and us now. As I have the privilege to come to the UK, therefore my eyes are open, and I would know how to talk to my children when it comes to things regarding concerning sex education. So when you were younger, you had it, I wouldn't say easy, but you've had the opportunity where your parents were, very open to you. This is what causes a lot of children in this country from an African household. Your parents are very strict. No sex talk. If you come home with earring, automatically they assume you're doing drugs, you're doing gang or whatever. So many things. So it just goes to show that, for example, mentalities as well plays a role. Culture plays a role, and like I said again, where you come from plays a role in terms of sex education.
I think it's parental guidance. I always say this, that your church is your home. Whatever, your child only listens to you from the beginning. It's when they get outside influence that it all gets chaotic. Chaotic is the word I was looking for. Perfect. Therefore, we have to believe in ourselves, or maybe educate ourselves, and then start to impart this into our children. So this is your chance to do that. It is very important that we believe what we teach.
We practice what we teach.
We practice what we teach, but you've got to believe what you practice, and then, that sort of thing. So it is very important that you think of the greater good as well, not necessarily just your household, but how your children or whoever you're looking after impacts into the outside world.
Because I was going to say, for example, the openness, if our parents could be open or we could be open to our parents, like they always, this is what happens to children, and I can talk because I grew up in this country.
Okay.
You tell a child, you don't teach them sex education, but you like to warn them. Oh, be careful of
Yeah.
that one. And you notice they warn you.
Yeah.
They're very harsh and pretty, like, on your case. Right. The more they do that, I'm telling you the truth, that's when it pushes the child to...
Yeah, the
right?
rebellion.
I'll give you an example of one of my cousins. She says to me, her mom is always asking her, you're coming home at this time. You went to see one guy, something she has not done, but it plays on your mind. So what you said from a young age, whatever the parent mentions,
so there's a psychological
impact upon it. So the more you're like, you don't tell me anything, they're just accusing me and blaming me and assuming. Okay, I'll give you what you want then. Eventually, that's what some kids do, and the pregnancy. I've spoken to them.
All right, let me. This is from Kofi Ali on our Facebook page. Good morning to you, Kofi. Kofi is saying that this is what we have been told. Told by who? Tell us your source, please. Kofi, I don't know what, because we've discussed a lot of issues today. Maybe if it's regards to this, if it's regards to this, Kofi, this is a survey that was done by Nordistica African Institute, okay, which they're trying to help young people with regards to HIV. And in their studies, they found out that a lot of young men and women, and even the teachers who are teaching the kids about sex education, did not know much or did not want to talk about it. And in certain instances, the kids knew more or the risk involved in certain pen drive and the viruses that you might have on a pen drive, rather than the knowledge about safe sex or sex education, how not to contract HIV. So this is why we're talking about this. And it also goes to show that parents are reluctant to talk to young children about sex, okay, their educational part. So that's why we're talking about, and that's where we got ourselves from. I hope you're satisfied with that, Kofi. Keep your thoughts and comments coming in. Let's read a few more messages on our GNTV page. You can also do the same thing. You can go onto our Facebook page and leave your comments on there, and I will read them. So this is from this is from Apia. Apia could be saying, Apia is saying hello to somebody on our Facebook page. This is where a lot of people do tend to congregate and say hello to each other. That's fine. Benis is saying, it's never and can never be a taboo. Our children look up to us, a first teacher, or every single good thing before their peers and teachers set in. Okay. Michael is saying, interesting program. Abefe is saying, it's not. Can you please elaborate, okay, on why you're saying that it's not? Let me go to our text on the phone to get a few text messages. Now, this is from Rita. Rita is saying this. Rita is saying that when she was younger, during the time that she realized that, as a woman, she's become a woman now, because of the time of day that we're discussing this, she's become a woman. The warning she got was, if you sleep with a man, you fall pregnant. Now, in her head, she thought by sleeping on the bed with the same man. So there you go again. Rather than explaining things to young people, we tend to just warn them and think it was just disappear. So keep your thoughts and comments coming in. You can call into the studio at 0203-735-8820 or 0203-286-0185. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we will continue with our discussion. We'll be right back.
You sleep with a man.
Do you remember I was saying that to you? I just said they just warn you. They don't tell you anything. They don't explain nothing to you. Like me, I had it hard. I had it so hard.
Did you?
School finished and me, I got to if I just even go next to a boy, I'll get pregnant straight away. I was like, what in the world? And the thing is whether you teach your kids or not, school will teach your kids whether you like it or not.
Indeed.
Because this is how I learned. Honest truth. I learned from my friends. I learned they tell you what the experience is, they tell you what they watch. So you as well as a child, you don't want to be left out, so you want to fit in. Sometimes it's peer pressure. Because I say again, talking about growing up here, not Africa. I don't know how Africans want to run this club. In this country,
I think your family probably 1 in a million.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody.
You know.
I'm just saying, it happens all the time. It's not 1 in a million. A lot of people, especially women, not even in my tribe or family, but outside they talk to their children, you know, as their daughters. A lot of women talk to their daughters and say, hey, women. I know a lot of women who will, even when your daughter is married, she's married to this man, the mother will come back and say, I think you should have another child now. Don't tell your husband, just have it. A lot of people do it. And then they say, you can't do it. No, much of it. You see, people tell their children things.
But they're not explaining, they just talk, they just assume. I don't know.
They tell their children things all the time. So, I don't know. With sex education, we have to talk to our own children. The church is in your house, not where they go. By the time your child goes out and into these churches and things, they already know who they are and what they can say no to and before.
The thing is, that's exactly that's my point. I would say, the honest truth, it should not be a taboo within an African household. But unfortunately, it is. And why? They don't explain.
Right.
They don't explain to you. All they simply do is, don't do this, don't do that. But you're thinking, okay, but you've done it the same. And then they said to you, I've been young like you before. You can't come and tell me.
We will be young
before. Being young before, what do you know that I don't? I'm like,
but you do know that with every generation, the goalpost changes. So when the goalpost is changing,
again, that's what I said. Is what you can only teach what you've been taught.
Yeah. So we push our own goalposts, and it's up to the parents. My issue is with parents, unless the child doesn't have a parent.
It's true. But even if it's not the parent exactly, because like my aunties, some of my aunties are very open. They're not typical. Even the Ghana woman I'm talking about now that she is very upfront. She's very open. She don't have nothing. She talks about herself. And then she tells you the mistakes you should not make and explains why you shouldn't make them, because it can delay you in this, delay you in that. She grew up here, so she said the mentality, you've got to be what did she say? You've got to have
Welcome back to Talk Africa. With me, John Sewa. In the studio, we have Estelle Oyuru, who's a social commentator. Also, Kiki. Kiki has her own chat show, GN Radio, on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Make sure to tune in. She'll probably touch on this topic again.
I am going to talk about this topic very bigly.
Say that again?
Bigly.
Okay, all right. Now, we've been talking, if you just joined us, we're talking about, is it, I don't know how to phrase this. Obviously, the question is out there, but we're asking, is sex education still a taboo in the 21st century within the African community? That's what we're talking about this morning here. We've had Kiki and also Estelle. Let's get a man's perspective. Mr. Idris Adesina has joined us once again. Good morning, Idris.
Nothing we can say about it now. I don't think it's.
Okay, Idris, just hold on there for us. Okay, there seems to be some form of feedback. I know it's not from you, it's from here. We'll get you back on it then. Yes, Idris, let's hear you.
Yes, it used to be like that, but the culture is changing. The culture is changing fast. Just that the culture of what we watch, what we wear, what we talk about, and our outlook in Africa is changing with the culture of sex. I know for sure that in some African countries today, or in some homes, you will be shocked that even in some very educated homes, things like that are not discussed. You don't blame them for it. What we need is education. Look, if you don't talk about it now, more bad things will happen. The internet penetration in Africa is very huge now. If you go across Africa now, just launch any small sports wear today in UK or in America, the next 1 week now you find it in the remotest part of Africa. That tells you that the internet penetration in Africa is changing. It's huge now. Every country in Africa, every person is always on their mobile, and they are accessing information as fast as possible. So the best thing we need to do now is for parents. I understand what it is because we are parents ourselves. I understand the apprehension there. I understand the fear. I know what parents are thinking. But we need to move with time, because if we don't match their movement, they will be there ahead of us. And if they get there ahead of us, they will get the wrong information. What we now need to separate or to get clear is at what age are we beginning to introduce the certificate? That is very fundamental. I believe that as early as 10, anybody 6, 7, 8 years now, personally, this is my personal opinion. The earlier we begin to do this, the better. The fear about the age is because if we introduce them to them as early as possible, does it really make meaning to them? You don't really know anything. But for as long as you begin to have access to other sources of information, by the time they begin to go to school, by the time they begin to do so anything, we need to quickly get to them at that age and begin to provide information to them. Maybe in play, maybe in talking, as early as possible. Otherwise, it will not be good for us in Africa. That's my contribution.
Okay, thank you very much, Idris Adishina, editor of Alternative Africa. When Idris was talking, Kiki, you were nodding your head to what he was saying.
I agreed that friends can influence outside of the home, and therefore parents need to try and get up to speed regarding the children. Everybody, you know, sex has positives and negative sides. One of the funniest things I find from my country and other African countries, people that I know, and even you have even brought it even bigger to the fore, is that because of religion and all of that, people do not seem to have sex. Even parents. It's shocking for a parent to dare to have sex. However, they have children. There's this advert where it's not even an advert. It's just a clip on Facebook where this two little boys are sitting there. Their parents came up to them and said, "We have news for you. We're gonna have a new baby." And one of the children, he was about 9. He said, "What? When did you have sex to have this baby? You know, why are we having another?" This is it. Parents do not have sex. They do not, you know, nobody must have sex. And yet we are increasing. Babies are being born. Things are happening. How? We need to talk about the how. It's the how that is missing. That is the missing link in this whole discussion.
Okay, let me, before I come to you, Estelle, Charles has put a message on our Facebook page. I think we're having some form of technical issue with one of our phones. Charles, try this line, 0203-735-8820. You can try that line, Charles. Okay, I will definitely pick your phone. He said, "Jones, I've been calling, but no one is picking. I'm going underground now. Sex education. It's impossible to post my comment here. It's just too long, lengthy. Please treat this again. Have a good weekend." Okay, Charles, we definitely will look at this because I don't think we have enough time to talk about this, but we'll definitely come back to this topic at some point. Okay, let's pick our first caller. Hello, good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning. I'm Dr. Champon. I'm from London.
Yes. I didn't catch your name. Can you repeat your name again, please?
I'm Dr. Champon.
Oh, Dr. Champon. Yes, let's hear you, doctor.
So I want to contribute to the HIV case we discussed. I've had the chance to work both in Ghana and here in the UK. And I think the reason why people don't get tested in Africa is the fact that the opportunities are not used. In this country, whenever anybody turns up in A&E, where they have some sort of any sort of presentation at all, common cold, any congenital illness that they don't really know what is causing it, what tends to happen is they use that window to test whether or not they are HIV positive.
Okay.
Whereas in Africa, I'm only used to what I saw in Ghana anyway. What tends to happen is even the kit to test for the virus is not available. Even the simple
blood tests that you need to treat whatever ailment they're presented with is not available. So how then do you get people tested?
Yeah.
That's the issue. One of the problems is of education, as one of your panelists mentioned. But the other aspect is the fact that the facilities are not available. So if it's not there, how then do you test people? Even if somebody decides to come to the hospital to get themselves tested, they don't have the kits, the HIV kits to test them. Okay? So I don't know if the government or the Ministry of Health needs to do something about it.
Well, I share your sentiment. There's a lot of NGOs. Yesterday we spoke of NGOs. There's a lot of NGOs who tend to go across the continent to carry out these tests. But let's look at the educational side. With regards to sex education, is it not just down to the parents to communicate more effectively to their children?
Well, as a parent, sometimes it's a lot difficult to touch on these topics. Simply because at a point you might think introducing the topic in a family might mean that you're giving them the nod to go out and have sex. So then what do you do? Okay, but then I think that another way of dealing with this issue is to sort of whenever there's a window. So, like one of your panelists mentioned, in terms of a 9-year-old child asking about when was there ever sexual intercourse that the baby being born.
Yes.
The parent could actually use that opportunity to educate their child, and then to sit the whole family down and say, okay, today we're talking about sex. Are you going to tell them that, okay, it's about time you can't start having sex until start thinking about using protection?
It is a fine line, isn't it, Doctor? It's a very, very fine line. But at some point, this conversation needs to happen. You're saying to seize the opportunity to talk to them about it. How about parents being more courageous to actually go to their children and talk to them about this?
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So that because of that fine line, how do you do it? Do you say, okay, today we're talking about it because I feel we can now go out there and have sex? Or are you going to use the biblical approach where you tend to warn them and say, okay, it's actually a sin to have sex? And then that is also, closing that window to actually get them to come talk to you about it if somebody mentions sex in school or something like that.
Okay, Dr. Champon, thank you very much for calling in. Continue to call in. We will usually probably touch on this topic at some point during the course of the year. Okay, so how do we approach our children? How do we talk about this? How do we start it? Dr. Champon was saying that maybe if they ask a question, then you seize that moment to talk to them about it.
I think that's a one vital. If they ask the question, seize the moment.
What if they don't?
But if they don't ask the question, you see, for example, a woman is showing her sons the condom and saying she didn't do it in the context of sex. It's the context of living. And I want to die old. And
but,
that kind of.
With what Dr. Champon was saying is, you could be telling them, or they could be thinking you're encouraging them. Okay, if I do it and I use this, I'll be okay to go ahead and use it.
It depends on how the context of the conversation and how it goes. If you are intent, if it's a throwaway comment, that is another angle. But if you have planned it in your mind that I have to do this and I'm going to find the best way to do it, and so you're going to seize an opportunity, and within that opportunity start introducing. You see, there's another prong. When you were talking, I was thinking about what you said in the break, and one of the reasons why parents do not talk about sex to their children is there's always this parent and child respect, and you do not want to break it. Now, we all know that, you know, as they say, that if you sleep with a man, then all, you know, all of the shame and everything. So when a man insists that you call him my lord, it's like, hello, I've seen everything. Why am I, you know,
like your father.
You know, so that is one of the issues, that breaking the barrier of respect. However, you can do it within the respect of someone who has had the experience, and you are imparting it to your child. And it doesn't have to get sorted.
Okay, quickly. Let me hear from you.
I'd say I've got the best of both worlds. Why? I come from Africa, but I grew up in London. So if I approach my children in terms of sex education, I believe I can't say as young as 9 or 10, like the gentleman said. But I believe, for example, I think as soon as they reach year 7, year 8-ish.
So you're talking about 12, 13.
Yeah, but not explicit, you know, you like you say.
But then these days, by the age of 10, 11,
they already know. Because school will teach them, or media will teach the children.
But you can't even unravel what they've learned.
All right, we will continue with this subject. I'm sure we will revisit it at some point during the course of the year. Thank you very much to my guest, Estelle, and also Kiki for joining us this morning. To you, our viewers and our listeners, I cannot go without reading the message, okay? I know we're running out of time. The producer is really shouting in my ear, but I have to do this. Henrietta is saying, our parents must accept the fact that times have changed and kids are growing up in a different era where you can't pretend about the reality anymore, okay? That's the only message I'm going to read. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll do it again, same place, same time, next week, Monday. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Have a wonderful week.
Lovely week.
Weekend. Good morning, my people.
I can't hear you.
Because your music is loud.
Because I don't want to hear it.
It said it makes you vibrate, makes you dance.
Yeah.
What, this song?
Yeah, he's singing in French.
Because you're singing in French.
No, he's singing in French.
Yeah.
Okay.
Africa.
Wow.
It's a huge problem.
Now, this whole taboo thing, trust me, one day can't solve the solution.
So I never got my tea. Anyway, okay, people, I want you to say hello to the people. You said hello to Estelle already. Now, this is Jones.
Hello, everybody. I'm trying to take off my earpiece.
This is Jones, and he's. Oh, you want them to see you?
Yeah.
Can you see yourself? Where's the light?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is Jones, and he's the main honcho here.
Thanks for watching. Continue to support us and continue to share. Thank you very much.
You people, are you not going to work? Jelly.
Okay, we've been kicked out.
Okay.